You know, the MCU, particularly since Endgame, is something that I love, but since Endgame, it has truly been hit and miss. Sometimes they've cracked one out of the park, like with WandaVision, Guardians of the Galaxy 3, Shang-Chi. And oftentimes they take a big swing and strike out badly, like Secret Invasion and others. And one of those ones I've got to unfortunately include She-Hulk. She-Hulk was a show that I think had a lot of promise, a lot of opportunity, terrific idea. They pitched us Ally McBeal in the MCU. Perfect. That is a great idea. It was going to be a court-centric comedy. Awesome. The problem is their court-centric stuff was almost non-existent and crappy, and their humor was terrible. I've often said the biggest sin you can commit in movies is being a comedy and being not funny. That is like the most unforgivable sin in movies and television shows. And She-Hulk just missed. I'm not going to say it didn't have some upside. I liked the first episode.
I did too.
I thought the first episode just built our hopes up. First episode was solid, and then it fell apart. But in all of that, out of the many problems the show suffered, one of the problems was definitively not Tatiana Maslany, Emmy award-winning actress, good Canadian girl, Tatiana Maslany, who quite frankly was great playing the character.
Yeah.
They just wrote a terrible show. Now, there had been, you might recall, in recent months, rumors going around and whispers that Tatiana Maslany was out. She was fired as She-Hulk. To which Tatiana Maslany kind of joked about, but never said anything committing to being back. Well, now she said something else a little bit about this. This comes just from Coming Soon. Writes, what did Tatiana Maslany just say about She-Hulk? Now, Entertainment Tonight has asked Maslany if there was any truth to the story about her turning down the opportunity to reprise She-Hulk role. You'll never know, Maslany said. I don't know. Do you know? When asked if she thinks there are more She-Hulk stories to tell, Maslany said, obviously there are She-Hulk stories from the 80s all the way until now. They continue to be written, so there's a lot in the character that's very exciting. Yeah, the comics are still being made. So yeah. All right. That to me normally kind of indicates that somebody's, yeah, they're probably coming back. Now, being somebody who does what I do for a living, I will often send texts and emails or make calls to people I know in the industry to try to get some information. Because I am 3 shades below a complete nobody, 90% of those texts and emails and calls just get ignored. 5% of them says, who is this? 3% say, fuck off. And about 2%.
Those ones were usually for me, but
about 2% of the time that I'll send out an inquiry for some information, does one of these people in the industry actually get back to me? Somebody got back to me. And they said, Tatiana is absolutely coming back as She-Hulk. Now, did not say where, did not say when, did not say how. And let me throw it out there that, listen, there's always a possibility that the person informing me could be misunderstanding things. But all I can do is tell you what I have now been told. Tatiana Maslany is going to come back as She-Hulk. And listen, as somebody who really didn't like the She-Hulk show, I love it. Because put her in the hands of somebody else writing, put her in their hands of a different story group, and I think there's not many people who can do as good of a job playing Jennifer as Tatiana Maslany did. I mean, I don't care who you had playing She-Hulk in that series. That series was bad. It wasn't going to save it. Right. She didn't write the lines. So I love the idea of her coming back. Now, look, this has nothing to do. Remember those leaked production sketch art that we had for Secret Wars that came out ago? And we had Hulk and She-Hulk.
Like in that village?
What looked like a Hulk village sort of thing. This had nothing to do with that. So it raises the question, assuming what I have now been informed of is true, which there's a possibility may not be, keep that in mind. Assuming that it is, the question then becomes when. And I think there are 4 possibilities. Rob, I want to pitch these possibilities to you, and then I want you to tell me which one you think is most likely. Possibility number 1. She pops up in Avengers Doomsday. To the best of my knowledge, that's not happening. But things can be added and all that kind of stuff, so you never know. So maybe making a quick little appearance somewhere in Avengers Doomsday. That's option 1. Option 2, Secret Wars. That we get her because we're expecting a lot of characters to be showing up in Secret Wars. That could seem like a logical place for her to make her reappearance as She-Hulk. Option 3, a She-Hulk season 2. Now again, as somebody who definitively did not like She-Hulk, I'd be down for season 2 with a new writer's room. And because the potential is all still there. That if they could just utilize the potential and lean into the things that are good about it and cut out the things that are mistakes, that could have some potential. Option number 4, anything else. Popping up in Daredevil season 3, popping up in a Shang-Chi 2, popping up in anything else. So our 4 possibilities here are Doomsday, Secret Wars, a She-Hulk season 2,
yeah.
and anything else. I'm going to lean towards Secret Wars. That's where we'll see her pop up as She-Hulk again. Although I do think anything else after Secret Wars is also a possibility, but I'm going to go with Secret Wars. Guys, we want to take a second and thank the sponsor of today's episode, PrizePicks. Well, the big game is almost here, and there's no better way to cash in during America's biggest sporting event than with PrizePicks, where it always feels good to be right. With the football season coming to a close, this is your last chance to jump into football action before next year, and PrizePicks is making it easy by giving you $50 instantly in lineups when you play your first $5 lineup. What I've always loved about PrizePicks is how simple it is. You're just picking more or less on player projections, building your lineup, and rooting at home while you watch the game. I also really like their early payouts feature. If a player gets off to a hot start, you can cash out before the game even ends. And with the new social feed, you can follow other players, copy lineups that you like, or use them as inspiration for your own. So don't miss out. Download the PrizePicks app today and use the code CAMPEA to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CAMPEA to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks. It's good to be right. Rob, assuming for a second that she is indeed coming back, what do you think is the most likely scenario that we see her return in?
Well, clearly she's on the Fantastic Four rocket, having replaced Sue Storm as a member of the Fantastic Four.
In the comics, she's often a Fantastic Four member.
That's why I said, and they followed that up in Doomsday. You'll see. But I think Secret Wars is. See, the interesting thing about her is in the MCU, she's West Coast based.
Right.
And so even in the Marvel comics, they had to make a West Coast Avengers because nobody goes to the West Coast in the Marvel comic universe. Everything happens in New York. You know, the Spider-Man's in New York, Daredevil's in New York, the Avengers are in New York.
Wonder Man was in LA.
What that's it. So you've got one, and those that's the contingency that's going to save the multiverse or Battle World because they were in California when the world ended. So by the way, I don't know that. I'm just making that up. But I think that the character, the character of She-Hulk is a great character when properly written. I think the problem with the She-Hulk show is they didn't know what they were making. Yeah. You had a writer's room and you saw those writers whenever they appeared in social media and stuff, they were completely adrift. And they didn't know, like, you had the comic book that you tried to emulate. Just read that. Go do that. And they couldn't do that. A funny legal show, especially in the Marvel universe with all the legal problems, you could sit down with the writer's room and go, okay, assuming there are superheroes in the world.
Could have been so good.
What would the legal problems they would face be? And that could write itself. You'd have 30 different storylines to break, but they didn't do that. It was, let's get into her personal life and all this weird stuff. Who cares? But anyway, She was great as She-Hulk. So I think for sure, I would be willing to bet. What's the place where you go bet on pop culture, whatever? Will She-Hulk return? Where?
Polymart?
Yeah. I don't think Polymart's in the U.S. yet, though, is it?
I think it is. But
I
could
would
be wrong.
bet on She-Hulk being in Secret Wars, 100%. Because why not? They're gonna. You saw that production art, but also if you look at the actual comic themselves, the comic itself, and I know Marvel doesn't directly adapt things, but the Winter Soldier, the character of Bucky, as written by Ed Brubaker in the Winter Soldier storyline, they pretty much adapted that. And I would think that they're going to do kind of the same thing about why wouldn't you want a group of Hulks in this? You've got Hulk's son, Scar,
Well, John doesn't think you're.
Oh my God, I think they're never
No,
going to bring
but
that character
I
back.
wouldn't be surprised though if we do see a contingent of Hulks in Secret Wars, because why not?
Man.
So I think for sure she's going to come back, and everybody's going to come back in Secret Wars. My mom called me and she goes, "What is the Secret Wars thing they want me to be in?"
I was wondering how you were going to tie that in.
Rob's mom will return
In
in,
Secret Wars.
Doomsday.
Somehow,
Post-Secret
Rob's
Wars
mom
Has returned.
Post Secret Wars, I'd love to see her in a Deadpool 4.
Oh my God!
Oh, a She-Hulk, the other fourth in a fourth
Yep.
Deadpool movie.
Oh,
I'd love to see her in a Deadpool 4.
Remember now, there's not going to be a Deadpool 4.
Yet, but I'm going to call Ryan
We
after
could
this.
see Deadpool in a more of an ensemble movie. And why not make one of those characters She-Hulk?
Yeah.
I'm totally down with that.
And
Totally.
I wouldn't mind a West Coast Avengers, and she's on it with like Vision and whatever. That'd be cool.
Oh, by the way, speaking of Ryan Reynolds, did you see that he's coming out in a movie with Kenneth Branagh?
Yeah, like a buddy cop sort of thing.
I was like, how do I not know about this?
Yeah.
Bring it on.
I'm excited about that. Anyway, guys, question is for you. What do you think about this? I have been informed by somebody fairly close to the situation that Tatiana Maslany is going to come back. Maybe their information is wrong, but it seems to line up with everything that we know so far. Where do you think that could possibly happen? Do you think it might be in Doomsday? Maybe Secret Wars? Maybe a She-Hulk season 2? Or maybe something else entirely? Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. Hey guys, thanks so much for watching this video. Make sure you like the video, leave a comment, and subscribe to our channel. And don't forget, we have a daily podcast called the John Campea Show podcast, available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or your favorite podcasting app of choice. Go and subscribe to it today so it'll be there when you need it.